says something really interesting. And she says, Feng means wind and Shui means water. And she says there's a proverb in Feng Shui, and it says, birds don't fly. They're flown by the wind. And fish don't swim. They're carried by the water. So birds don't fly, they're flown. And fish don't swim, they're carried. And so I thought that was a pretty interesting observation and a pretty interesting way of seeing things. And so I thought about all the different ways that nature shows us how animals, they don't hold on too much. They just kind of go on with their instinct to what is needed. And then I thought about all the other ways that I hold on to things, ideas, beliefs. And so, as the Guru said, birds allow the wind to fly them and fish allow the current to carry them. I thought if fish were to hold on to the rocks and birds were to hold on to the branches, they would never really fly, they would never really swim. They would always be holding on to something. And so in the same way that we humans can learn from nature to let go in many ways, let go of beliefs about ourselves, beliefs that we hold on to, the beliefs of not being good enough, the beliefs that maybe things never worked out for us, the belief of I'm not loved enough, whatever beliefs there are that hold you from really being your full self, from really experiencing life in the most peaceful way. And so with this in mind, I'd like to invite you to just kind of tune into the breath. And so whether you like to close your eyes or not, that's up to you. But really just starting to noticing how you're breathing in this moment. Noticing how you're sitting or lying down or standing in this moment. And all we're doing is just paying attention to the moment exactly as it is. There's nothing for you to do. There's nothing to change or control. All we're doing is noticing the breath moving through the body. Noticing the body sitting here, lying here, standing here. And just like this saying says, how birds are flown by the wind, by the air, and fish are carried through the water. Just allowing for yourself to be carried in this way by the breath. Perhaps noticing the need to change or control the breath in any way. The many ways we hold on to things. And seeing if you can just allow for the breath to flow, to carry you in this way. And allowing this body to just gently, really safely sink into the surface that's holding you, embraced by the earth, embraced by the moment. Knowing that in this moment, there's nothing to do, nowhere to go, nothing to accomplish by just being here, allowing the breath to flow, allowing the body to breathe, breathing the moment. Breathing you in a way that even if you wanted to, you couldn't control, you couldn't change. At some moment, you will just have to let go. There's no holding on to this breath or the last breath or the next breath. The breath will just come and go, and the body will just breathe itself. And in this way, the body and the breath are carrying you over, just like the water is carrying the fish, just like the wind is flying the birds. And as you pay attention to the body, you might notice that the body might be holding on to some things, maybe tightness, maybe tension. And in letting go of this tension, we allow for softening. We allow for an ease to enter this being. And so, in this way, welcoming yourself and welcoming everybody that's here with you, sharing this breath, sharing this moment in this togetherness. Fully arriving here. Fully arriving to this moment. Perhaps noticing the need to swim against the current, trying to push away any thoughts, push away any feelings or emotions. And instead, maybe just inviting whatever is here to be noticed. And perhaps as you notice the breath flowing, you still notice quite a bit of thinking, the judging mind, the comparing mind, all the different ways the mind manifests in a moment. And as you bring your attention kindly to the present moment, to the breath or the body, you allow for all this to just kind of let go. Even if it's still lingering in the background, the attention has shifted. And it could just be the commentary. But we don't have to pay attention to that. We can come back to this moment. And as you do this, you might notice the shoulders dropping, the jaw releasing, the eyes softening. And little by little, there's more ease, there's more calmness in this moment. Riding the waves of the breath. And perhaps you notice the mind wandering, telling stories, grasping for something else. You notice that just really kindly and gently bringing your attention right back to the breath or sensations in the body that might be kind of calling you in this moment, calling for the attention in this moment. It could be tightness or numbness or tingling, or maybe the sensation of the breath in the body. allowing for this breath to breathe you, to carry you. And allowing for it to flow as it often does without any help. Just like the fish doesn't need to control the river and the bird doesn't need to control the wind. In this way, we allow the breath to just carry us over in the moment. And maybe you're noticing that the breath is very fast or agitated, or maybe soft. Maybe the breath is deep or shallow. Can you be okay with that? Can you just let go of your need for the breath to be any particular way, for things to be any particular way? And even if you wanted to, you couldn't hold on to the breath. It would just flow. It would just keep coming and going. And every time you breathe out, you're letting go a little more. So the body teaches us to let go. Can't hold on to the out breath. Just like holding your breath will be detrimental to you. In the same way, holding to things that are not serving you could be detrimental to you as well. So in this practice of just letting go of the breath, time after time, noticing how easy the body just lets go. And is there any tightness, any tension that you're holding on to? Perhaps inviting it to go, letting it go. What would it take for you to let go of the tightness and the tension in this moment? To loosen the grip that you have without even noticing we're holding on to things in this way. So it takes real paying attention. And in this paying attention, we bring a sense of acceptance, a sense of letting go. So in this way, letting go is more like letting be, letting things be exactly as they are. And the letting go comes from letting go that need for things to be different. And this way we get on the way. And so whenever you're ready, just taking in a deep breath and just letting go of that breath on the long, long exhale. And then just allowing the body to breathe normally. There's a sense of allowing things to just flow the way they should. And so we can say that our mindfulness practice allows us to become aware of the thoughts and emotions that reinforce these beliefs. By accepting them and bringing kind curiosity to them, we can learn of their origin and provide what is needed at the moment. provide what is lacking. And then we often realize that the only thing needed was to be held compassionately. So, how can you bring compassion in this moment? How can we learn to hold on to ourselves compassionately and with care? And you might often notice that this holding on is a way to avoid feeling unpleasant emotions, resisting. And Carl Jung says, what we resist not only persists, but it grows in size. So resistance only makes things worse for us. The more we resist how we feel, the more we resist the moment, the more we're reinforcing these habitual patterns. So maybe we can look at different things of seeing things, noticing what are some beliefs that we're holding on to, beliefs about ourselves, beliefs about others. And is there another way of seeing things? Is there another way of maybe opening up to what's happening? And this allowing is very freeing. It's liberating to allow things to just be. On the contrary, we tend to think that if we push things away, if we resist them, we're letting go. And it's quite the opposite. In our practice, letting go means letting be, letting our emotions be, accepting them with kindness, with curiosity, with compassion. And even some of these beliefs that hold us back, we must accept them, we must notice them before we can do something about it. So a belief that I had for a very long time was driven by me being a very sick child. I was very sickly and very sick all my life. And I grew up with a belief that I just couldn't keep up with others, that I couldn't do anything. I couldn't run and I couldn't play and I couldn't walk very much. And so having this belief held me back from so many things. And it wasn't until I was about 17 that I acknowledged that I had this belief about myself that was holding me back so much. And by just accepting the belief and acknowledging it, I was able to see things under a different light. There was hope, there was possibility, there was a shift in seeing what things I could really do. What were some parts of myself that were quite resilient and they were quite strong. And so Mr. Rogers, I don't know if you know of Mr. Rogers, but Mr. Rogers was a TV celebrity and a creator of a show called Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And so today I was going to start by saying, it's a wonderful day in the neighborhood. And this is something that he said all the time. Despite of his work, which was mainly driven by children really acknowledging their emotions and being able to process them, it was always a beautiful day in the neighborhood. So interestingly enough, his show is very focused on all these things that were hard for children, but yet he kind of had a different perspective on how to bring even joy in moments of sadness and anger by just being with things, by acknowledging. And so he has a quote. He's quoted for saying, when I was a child and I'd see scary things in the news, my mother would say to me, look for the helpers. You will always see people who are helping. And so this is a way of seeing things, right? This is a way of changing the perspective, of letting go, of not holding on to the way we see things, but seeing past it. What else is there, right? And last week I read the poem, that quote by Rumi, that he says, life is a balance of holding on and letting go. So we're constantly between this polarity in some way. So letting go is not about leaving anything behind. It's not about moving on. It's not about forgetting. It is about noticing or wanting things to be different than they are. So when we practice letting go, we pay attention to what the mind is grasping to in the moment. And the mind is it's always wobbling, kind of trying to grasp from thing to the next, one thing to the next. And I wanted to read you this story that it always spoke to me. This story is called The Captive Eagle. And I'll just say the author is unknown because I've kind of lost the author. I don't remember who wrote it. But it goes like this. It says, once it was said that an eagle was chained for many months to the perch just outside her cage. She had lived in the conscious belief of being held captive here by the chain for so long that she has completely given up all efforts to escape. She has almost forgotten that the power to fly is still in her. One day, a link from the chain busts open, but leaving so long believing that she's captive, she makes no effort to escape. The freedom of the heavens is now hers if she only exercised her power to fly. But day after day, she sits, longing for freedom, but is still remaining captive. However, one morning, she ventures out just a little farther out into the perch than usual. And when suddenly, strange feeling is hers, she sets her wings, and the captivity which has held her for months vanishes forever. And so it is with us human beings. We don't know ourselves. And not knowing ourselves doesn't allow us to know our own power and our own possibilities. So even by looking at ourselves, we can see the miracle that we are. And by miracle, I mean miracles are things that cannot be proven by science, that cannot be explained by the mind. And he says to be born to this world takes a real miracle. And there's nothing that we cannot do. And so today I thought it was pretty interesting just to notice, maybe just for a moment, tuning into your breath again, tuning into the sense of the story. And just noticing what are some things, some beliefs that are holding you back. As I was saying, for me, it was the belief that I couldn't keep up. I couldn't run, I couldn't play. And every time I noticed that, I reinforced that belief every time I noticed that I couldn't do this. And it took me accepting, instead of resisting my body the way it was, to open up to the possibility of other things in my life. And so what is it for you that you're holding on to? Am I still getting on the way of your life or living a life that will will be peaceful or joyful or living at ease? What are some stories that you tell yourself? This is the beauty of our practice. Allows us to see what's happening, to become aware of the stories and the beliefs. What drives you? What holds you back? And can you acknowledge maybe these beliefs and the role they played in your life? Maybe the belief for me of feeling that I couldn't do much or that I couldn't run or that I couldn't keep up, it kept me healthier for a long time. Maybe I would have broken my body in many ways if I didn't believe that. So in some ways it served me. But then it got to a point that that belief filtered into everything in my life. That story filtered into everything in my life. So I thank you for taking in this opportunity to tune into yourself, to practice with us, to practice in this way. So offering whatever it is that might have learned together here to every being in the planet, to all others that might need this knowledge, that might need this sense of knowing about ourselves, offering this time to them, offering this time in unity to all of us. Thank you. Thank you for practicing in this way.